Yeah, this is a fun technique, a very fluid, so to speak, because you really see how you're not following in outlines, you're following the glow of the light, right? Almost like a mystical experience. You follow the light right here, and you see that this, you're going to achieve this illumination, so to speak, about the effect of the light on form. Rather than the outlining. So when we draw using the line, we're doing something similar to what I have described before with the names, right? So the name identifies something. When we have identified the eye, the nose, etc., we start attributing values to that specific anatomical part. How wide, how high, what the color of the eyes, the corners, and this and that, right? Which are really a way of measuring, right? Measuring the entity of the individual, in this case, face or feature. And that's great. I mean, that's really, really important. But when we start moving to the tonal rendering, right, then we are using more the language as a poet would use poetry, right? So it's really not an exact definition that of the object that we are interested in. That has been established already in the previous phase. It's more about how the light affect the form in with these unpredictable new patterns, right? New ways of depending on the direction of the light, we would have completely different effects of the light on the form. Think of Caravaggio, right? For example. So, in fact, in the early Renaissance egg tempera painting, the light is this universal glow, is distributed evenly in the universe, right? And everything is illuminated very, very clearly. But that method of painting is more connected to drawing than painting, right? Even a technique, egg tempera, is made with tiny, tiny little little brush strokes that are lined, that overlap and are precisely defining your subject. Think of, for example, the Venus, the Birth of Venus, Botticelli, right? Where everything is so clearly outlined. That is still way of painting, still very connected with drawing. When we move on to the Baroque, right, to make a very clear case, 1600s to 200 years, about 200 years after the birth of Renaissance, then the light becomes the way of measuring the universe, not the line, not mathematics anymore. It's light. The light does what the light wants to do, right? So it's difficult to tell the light to define, to do something that we want it to do. It doesn't. So especially in complex forms like the body, and depending on the direction of the light toward the form, you're going to have different effects, right? So also, we are not going to have a clear outline that defines the form. It's going to be values that define the form, right? So this eye here is defined by the value above here that frames it, but the line that defines it is not a sharp line. It's an area of value that can become very thin or kind of barely visible or disappear completely, right? So it's a very different way of thinking. We need to know both. We need to know drawing, we need to know soft tonal rendering like that, and then use them. So I'm not saying one is better than the other one. They do different things. The more of this technique and more these approaches we know, the better it is, the more complex and interesting our artwork will become. Here. Still haven't started to use whites. We're not gonna need to use a lot of whites actually, because I could go down to a light value quite well, right? But we'll see. Maybe we will have to do that. So here, darker, a little bit darker now. Darker here, soft. This line here is called Cupid's bow, like the one we have in the thigh, from the thigh down to the ankle, right? So there's a line here, that the color line that defines the part between the two, which is called vermilion, the vermilion line, which is pretty much occupying the same space as the Cupid bow, right? All right, so now here, actually, what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna lift a little bit of highlight vertically down like this, creating the creases in the lips here. This is now a little bit lighter, gradually, right? Like that. This, right? We're gonna be careful not to make. So if we always have to need to keep under control the tonal relationship between the various parts of the face, because if I see a value here, for example, and I isolate them, right, and I say, oh, that's so white, and make it lighter, because that in that area to me looks very light. I might end up having a big problem, because if I make it too light, then it will detach itself from the rest, right? And then you're gonna have part of the face that will pop out incongruently in relation to other parts. And you break down this tonal harmony that defines also the tridimensionality, right? The flow of the forms, right? The development of the forms. And I end up with a face that has maybe an area too depressed or too expanded, and I start having a cubist painting or an area where bumps of the face don't talk to each other, right? So they need always to agree with each other. Who's going lighter? Who's going darker? Right? How deep is this area here? How light this other area here is? And so that's something that we need to. That's why I like to develop this drawing gradually, a little bit at a time. It's easy to keep this tonal development. Therefore, the expression, how the form express themselves, three-dimensional, under control.